According to Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson this morning, drafts of the ceasefire agreement have been handed over to both sides while talks continue. Now, in his final foreign policy address yesterday before leaving office, President Biden said the deal is, quote, on the brink of coming to fruition. He also spoke about the urgency of getting a deal done.
Pressing hard to close this. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who've suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started.
NBC News correspondent Daniele Hamamdjian joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. Danielle, good morning. So walk us through the details here about how close we are and also what we know about a potential hostage release and prisoner exchange.
Well, it seems from all sides that they have never been this close. And in the words of a senior Israeli official, they have never been in such detailed negotiations. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of details involved in this deal. And what I can tell you is that in the first stage of this deal, we would see the release of 33 hostages on humanitarian grounds. It was 34 up until last week, but as you know, one of the hostages was found dead in a tunnel. Those who would be released will be the women, children, those over the age of 50, those who are injured and ill. Now, the majority of them are believed to be alive, but Israel has no evidence of that just yet. In return, we would see what has been described as a significant number of Palestinian detainees released. We're told that it's in the hundreds. How many exactly is still to be determined by the number of hostages who come back alive. Now, during this period, the IDF will withdraw from the more densely populated areas into a buffer zone along the Gaza border. Those who have been displaced from northern Gaza, the Gazans will be able to return to northern Gaza. There are security arrangements in place. What exactly that means in terms of vetting is still unclear. The second stage will then see the release of the remaining hostages, the younger hostages, the male soldiers, and those who were killed either on October 7th or in captivity. But the IDF is clear they will not leave the Gaza Strip until all hostages, dead or alive, have been returned.
So, Danielle, I mean, multiple officials had said negotiators made significant progress over the weekend as they just try to broker a truce in this war that began 15 months ago. Peace has been so elusive. A deal has been so elusive. Do we know what has changed from Hamas's perspective to get us to this point right now?
Well, the Middle East is, there's a different picture in the region. Hamas is obviously much more isolated. He doesn't have Hezbollah to count on. Hezbollah, of course, struck a deal with Israel. We've seen the toppling of the Assad regime in Syria. Iran is much more vulnerable. And so what this Israeli official we've spoken to has said is that this ring of fire backed by Iran has been dismantled by Israel, which means that now what they say are optimal conditions for a deal. If you're Hamas, you have to think, is the deal that's on the table now going to get any better or worse under President Trump? And it looks like they're calculating that this is as good as it's going to get. Of course, there's been also the tough talk by President-elect Trump that all hell will break loose, that they'll be held to pay. How exactly that would look in Gaza, I mean, most Palestinians would tell you it cannot get any worse than this. But still, all those factors combined have led to this moment, and we're definitely seeing a sense of urgency to get this deal done before this de facto unofficial deadline of January 20th, the inauguration of President Trump.
Danielle, as Joe pointed out, peace has been so elusive. It feels like we've been here before, but never actually reached the finish line on this. So we don't know. What does this look like? I mean, how soon could a deal be implemented? What would next steps be?
Well, we've heard various reports. It could be, according to two U.S. officials close to the negotiations, we've been told that it could happen within 48 hours of a deal being announced, the first hostages released, I mean. But it could take up to 7 days. One thing to keep in mind, Savannah, is that the cabinet has to approve it, and critically, families of the victims of the Palestinians who are being detained, they have to be given a chance to take their case to court. court, to the Supreme Court, to try to block their release if they so wish to do so. And so it will happen quickly. That's what it seems like. Not immediately, but it could be a question of days, really. If a deal is announced today, we could see some of the hostages released by the end of the week.
Danielle, incredible reporting. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.